Hello, everyone. So welcome back. In the previous class, we have talked about the concept of elasticity of demand, and we went over the concept and also talk about the determinants of elasticity of demand, and as well as how elasticity of demand is related to the firm revenue. So today we are going to go over the concept of other elasticity in this chapter. So in your textbook reading, you are going to find out that there are more elasticity concepts that we study in economics. Especially, we have this three here that we are going to talk about today. So number one, we are going to start investigating on cross elasticity of demand, which is the measure of responsiveness in the quantity demand for one good to change when the price of another good change in the market, where we assume the two goods are somehow related to each other. And the next elasticity concept is called income elasticity of demand. So it will be measuring the responsiveness of quantity demand of a good to any change in the overall income of the buyers. And number three is, of course, the last concept here, elasticity of supply. So very similar to the elasticity of demand, we also want to figure out the responsiveness of the firms, how they react to the change of prices in the markets. So in a very simple example here, we are showing the cross-price elasticity of demand equations here. Sorry about the notation used here, so I should actually be consistent using either A, B, or X, Y. But in the equation, as you can see, there are two things that we pass into these equations in order to get the elasticity for cross price. So this coefficient is calculated by the percentage change in quantity demand for one goods, and in this case, by our notation, good A or good X, divided by the percentage change in price for good B or good Y. So in this example here, we are looking at maybe two products here. So number one, maybe people can actually purchase some music album online in a digital form by downloading the MP3 files from the pay websites. We also think about another product, which is the physical form of music, which is the CD that people can buy and put it into their computer to listen to the song. So given the number here, we are basically assuming ceteris paribus. When the price of the MP3 files actually drop, in this case increase from $10 to $12.50, holding everything constant, including the price of the CD, it's the same in the market. And we actually observe that the quantity demand for music CD actually increased from 100 units to 150 units. So to calculate the cross price elasticity of demand for between the two products, we are going to calculate the price of good B, which is the MP3, and the quantity demand for good A, which is from 100 units to 150 units independently. And as you can see at the equation below, we have the price of the MP3 albums increased by 25%, so we see a positive number. And at the same time, because of this change in the world, the quantity demand for a music CD actually increased by 50%. So we combine the two answers, and we get the result here, the cross-price elasticity of demand between CD albums online and music CD, it's equal to 2. So very similar to the interpretations of elasticity of demand. So when we are trying to interpret the number that we get from elasticity of demand, we know the number, the coefficients that we got basically represents every 1% change in price of the product. And the percentage change in quantity demand of the same product in the market. Here we have the cross elasticity of demand, basically telling us the coefficient equals to 2. So the interpretation is pretty much the same, but you have to be careful with what is changing and causing what is the other variable to change. So in this case, if we have a number equals to 2, we can interpret the result as the following. For every 1% change in price for MP3 album, it will cause the music CD quantity demand to increase or change by 2%. And specifically, because both numbers are positive, so we can be a little bit more specific. We say, well, for every 1% increase in price of MP3 album, it will increase the quantity demand for music CD by 2%. Now, the thing is, in the study of elasticity of demand, well, we always get a negative number. So that's why we always represent our answer in the positive, because we don't have to care about the signs. But in the study of cross-price elasticity, unfortunately, we cannot assume that the number can always be the negative signs or positive sign. And in this specific case, when we look at the previous example, when the price of the CD album in a digital form, MP3, it's increasing. It basically giving motivations for people to buy more CD, physical CD music. And most of you guys might already know that, well, the two goods are basically substitute goods in the market. And this positive sign basically gives us an idea the two goods are substitute goods. Well, same if you think about like the price of sandwich, how it affects the quantity demand of a burger, you might actually find the same results. However, there is a set of rules that you have to always remember. When the cross elasticity of demand actually greater than 0 or a positive number, it basically represents the goods, the two goods in the markets are substitutes to each other. However, we also learned in chapter 3, when the cross elasticity of demand it's less than 0 or negative, it actually gives you an idea the two goods are complements goods. It complements each other in the markets. So those are the rule of thumbs, and you don't want to miss. And if you want to give yourself some example to think about, maybe you should think about, hey, what happened when the price of PS4 games increase in the markets by 20%? How is it going to affect the quantity demand for the PS4 game console? Well, since they're complements to each other, so I would assume that the cross-price elasticity of demand will be negative. Well, there's another elasticity concept which is very widely studied in economics. We call this income elasticity of demand. So to calculate the income elasticity of demand, again, very similar to our previous calculations. We need to take two numbers and put them into fractions. And in this case, the income elasticity of demand can be calculated by using the percentage change in quantity demand of the goods divided by the percentage change in income. So the notation we use in this equation, y, basically represents income. For example, if we actually have a person whose income increases from $1,000 to $1,400 per month in a given month, as a result, ceteris paribus, holding everything constant, the quantity demand for meatball sandwich actually increased from 20 units to 24 units per month, which is a 20% increase. Well, to calculate the income elasticity of demand for meatball sandwich from this person, it's pretty simple. We're going to apply the same equation here, and we figure out the percentage change in quantity demand for meatball sandwich and divide it by the percentage change in income. And again, it's worth to note, both signs are positive. So at the end, you get a fractions equals to 1/2. So the interpretations to this income elasticity should be pretty straightforward for you guys now, because we went over two elasticity concepts, and now it's basically another one that's similar to the previous study. So the income elasticity coefficient actually tells us for every 1% change in income, what's the percentage change in quantity demand for the goods. So this 1 over 2, or 0.5, basically represents for every 1% increase in income for this person will buy 0.5% more meatball sandwich in his in the given period. Just like the previous study of cross-price elasticity of demand, the income elasticity of demand also not just having one particular direction change. So income elasticity of demand is not only always taking a positive sign. So the rule of thumb, again, for you guys to figure out, when income elasticity is a positive number between 0 and 1, we actually call the goods normal goods in our life. And that's what we study in the supply-demand models chapter. However, when the income elasticity actually fall below 0 or taking a negative sign, unfortunately, you cannot call this a normal good anymore, because, well, when the income increase and people choose to buy less, those are the goods we call them the inferior goods. So those are the concepts we cover in the supply-demand chapter, and hopefully it reminds you again. Well, now we have a sign to actually define whether the good is a normal good or inferior good. To be a little bit more specific, when we're trying to look at the income elasticity coefficients, and it actually go beyond 1, well, in this case, well, we actually call those goods the luxury goods. So the luxury good is the one that actually very sensitive to the change of income. When there is a change of income slightly, well, the quantity demands for the luxury goods will change by a lot. And in this case, when your income increase slightly, and it makes you really, really want to buy that particular goods in your life, well, this basically is considered to be a luxury goods. Now, the last thing that we would like to cover in this video is the concept of elasticity of supply. So very similar notation you are going to see here. The elasticity coefficients for supply is equal to the percent change in quantity supply divided by the percent change in price. So in order to calculate this coefficients, again, all you need to know is basically the quantity supplied of a product and the price of the product. So for instance, let's say there is a sushi restaurant, and this sushi restaurant actually find out that they can actually charge the California roll in the market by 5% more. So when the overall prices for California roll increase by 5%, and very likely this restaurant is going to adopt and charging 5% more. When they know they can charge 5% more, because, well, the motivations to get more profits by selling California roll will increase the quantity supply of the restaurants. So the supply of California roll will increase, and that's by the law of supply. And given the number here, we know the total quantity supply of California roll actually increased by 10% because of the change of the price. Now, to put this information together, we have the percent change in quantity supply for California roll, which is 10% increase. And we also have the percentage change in price for California roll, which is increased by 5%. So 10% divided by 5%, and at the end we get this coefficient equals to 2. Now, I'm not going to give you the interpretations anymore, because I think we have went over these interpretations of the coefficients many times already. And I would like to ask you to think about how to interpret this number. And what does it mean to the firm when the price increase by 1% in the market? Well, in the study of elasticity of demand, we actually look at what are the determinants of the elasticity of demand. And now we would like to also think about what are the reasons some of the goods have a more elastic supply or inelastic supply. Well, fortunately, unlike the study of demand, there is only one factor that the firm care when they're running their productions. And this factor is time. So the only one thing that determines the elasticity of supply is given the time, how much time the firm has to run the productions or make the decisions of the productions. And in this particular case, I'm showing you a graph on this slide that represents different production periods in this study of elasticity of supply. Let's suppose we look at the graph and we try to find the line that's called SMP. So the supply curve with subscript of MP. So what we define as MP here is the market period. So when the firm actually finish the productions and start launching the product in the market, and we call this a market period. Well, for simpler definitions here, you can imagine maybe when a farmer actually planned the productions for the seasons, and this farmer growing oranges in California. After the farmer actually harvests all the oranges, finish the productions of the oranges, they would like to actually ship the oranges out in the market for sales. Well, at that point, unfortunately, regardless what the price of the orange is, there is no way for the farmer to actually adjust the quantity of oranges to put out in the markets. And the reason is because the oranges, it's already in the market period. And as you can see, well, there's a vertical line here that demonstrates regardless how the prices change in the markets, the quantity supplied of the goods will always be the same. And this is the case where we actually say, well, the production is actually, or the supplies of the product is actually perfectly inelastic. Regardless what the price is, the quantity supplied in the market will be fixed. Well, if we think about a little bit more in definition term, well, firms will not only produce during the market periods because, well, the production actually took place earlier stage. Well, during the production periods, there are two terminology that we use to describe how the firm phase their resources. Well, the one period here we describe here is called the short-run production period, which we represent by the supply curve called S subscript SR. Well, during the short-run production period, what happened is the firm is facing at least some of the production input that it's fixed. So for instance, maybe a firm like a farm that we discussed earlier. So the farmer actually planned on the productions at the beginning of the seasons. But unfortunately, during this seasons, there is something that it's fixed. Maybe the farmer has this only fixed piece of land. So this land is fixed. He doesn't have any money to rent a bigger land. However, the farmer might actually have money to pay for other stuff, like maybe hiring one more labor, maybe paying off for an additional set of tools to put into the farm productions. And in this case, well, there are something that can be changed, like for example, labor or maybe equipment. But there are some production inputs cannot be changed during the short run, like a land. Well, when the firm is actually making a decisions on their productions, of course, they can make those adjustments easily at the beginning of the seasons when they know there are something expectable to change. So for instance, let's say the farmer at the beginning of the seasons, they actually heard about the news. The overall price of oranges actually go up by at least $4 per ton. Well, in this case, well, if the farmer actually knows that the orange prices have gone up, and also it will be easy for him to actually sell more to make more profits. maybe the farmer will actually make slightly changes to maybe they will hire a few more people, or maybe they would like to buy another set of additional tools. Well, with this marginal adjustment in the productions, it allows the firms or the farmer to actually make adjustment to the outputs, which is the oranges that they're going to sell in the market. And as you can see, the short-run supply curve actually is the one that we actually seen in our study in the supply-demand model. It's going to be an upward sloping one. When prices go up, well, firms will have this flexibility to make adjustments to their outputs during the short run. Now, what's even more interesting to see is we actually also define different production periods for the firm, and we call this a long-run production period. And it's represented by the short-run, the supply curve S subscript LR. Well, during the long-run productions, what happened is the production firm, or the farmer in this case, they are basically given all the production inputs the flexibility to make adjustment according to the information given in the market. And of course, in the previous case, we actually discussed, hey, the land is fixed, so the farmer may not be able to adjust during that particular season. However, when the farmer actually thinking about the production in the long run, you can simply think about how the farmer actually responds to the change of prices, and they might actually plan on producing more oranges in the long run by maybe moving the production somewhere else, maybe not producing the oranges in California anymore. Maybe they want to move up to maybe Portland to have a bigger piece of land to produce, or maybe easier for distributions. So when all the production factors can be adjusted, can be varied, can be changed, well, this is the time period we call them the long-run production periods. And this is when the time firm actually have all the flexibility to make change of their outputs. When they see the price actually go up, well, they can easily make adjustments in the long runs with the changes of all the production inputs they put in. And the graph actually demonstrates for how the change in demand will affect the overall prices when firms responding the change of demand in the market in different production periods. And as you can see, well, the market period supply curve will show you the perfectly inelastic, extremely inelastic supply. The short runs supply curve show you, well, just like a regular elastic supply. And the long run supply curve showing you that, well, the supply in the long run, it's super flexible or extremely elastic. Well, in this chapter, we cover quite a lot of concepts related to elasticity of demand or the concept of elasticity. I would strongly suggest you guys to do a few problems on a paper and trying to solve the problems by hand, practice it before you actually get into the assignment questions. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.